after the divorce from your first wife, where you're talking about People Magazine, Sexiest Man, Saturday Night Live, all of these things, you were able to really not only embrace, but almost in some ways seek out this major fame and yet still be one of the top drivers in the sport, if not the top. How did you do that? And what advice can you give to other athletes who, want to become these big crossover stars yet still want to succeed in their sport?
Well, first of all, you have to have the success on the field or on the track, because if you don't have that, it's not going to just come on its own. There are certain drivers out there and people in sports that are very popular because of their personality or they bring something unique, and you don't have to back that up on the racetrack, but most of the time you're going to have to do that. But, you just have to look at what your brand is or who you are as a person and what you bring that's unique and special, and try to push that and hope that it catches on with somebody. With social media these days, you can do a lot of that. It is interesting you bring up the divorce. I mean, I had a certain popularity success, through the mid-90s to 2001 and won my last championship 2001, but my popularity didn't get as high as it was until the controversy, that came from the divorce. And so, I had to make sure I stayed true to myself, work hard as a race car driver, and try to ride that, that tough time in my life. But luckily, I came out on the other side better and more popular.
Yeah. You also mentioned that during this time, the post-divorce, is when you became really good friends with Jimmie Johnson. It had been hard for you to let other drivers get close to you because you're competitive by nature, but Jimmie was the man, and you guys really had some good times together. Well, it was good to be Jeff Gordon and Jimmie Johnson for a big time there.
It was. Well, it's still good to be Jimmie Johnson.
He just won his seventh
sure did.
Cup championship.
But I mean, I never really created a friendship within the sport, and Jimmie, I saw him as this great young talent. He was coming to Hendrick Motorsports, so we were fortunate, to have him coming on board. But we started just hanging out a lot together and having a good time up here in New York. As a matter of fact, he met his wife now, Chandra, here in New York. I met my wife, Ingrid, up here in New York. So we had some good times traveling, not just around the U.S., but around the world. And then we had to start racing together and competing against one another, and that created some challenges, but we're still great friends.
Yeah, Paris St. Bart sounded like it was pretty good there.
Wasn't bad.
Can you make the case right now that Jimmie Johnson is the best driver ever?
I would certainly say so, because of my experience racing against him in the same equipment, in the same organization, Hendrick Motorsports, there was one particular year, 2007, we had that team beat, the 24 car. We won a couple races. We had them down, and I thought, man, we've got this thing, and they just rallied back like they've always done, and put us away. And so, to me, as tough as the competition is today, and this format that we have with the playoff type system, to me, it's harder to win championships now than it's ever been. And yet they continue to rise up and get it done when it matters most. So, yeah, I think he's the best I've ever raced against.
Right now, he's tied with Dale Earnhardt and Petty for the most ever. How many more can he win, though? I mean, would it just be 8 to break the record, or could you see him getting all the way up to 10?
I mean, I just don't know if he's going to drive long. I mean, if he decided to do like what Mark Martin did and drive into his 50s, then yeah, I think he could get there. I think anything is possible with he and this team. I mean, they do extraordinary things like they did this year. Nobody had them pegged to win the championship this year, and yet here they are getting number 7, and creating history. I think he's definitely going to get 8. I think he'll definitely get 8. I think he's going to be that driven to separate himself from Richard and from Dale, and be known as the only 8-time champion.